Hello my friends. In today's video I'm going to share with you my ICP test results from February 11th. And this is the Fauna Marin ICP lab test. Real quick before we get to the content, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel grow. And please click that thumbs up button for the YouTube algorithm. Alright, on to the content. So the whole reason I decided to do an ICP test is because, contrary to what you guys see in the videos, sometimes I do run into issues, and this time one of my prize frags, an orange passion that I've had for over a year, it RTN'ed, and I wasn't sure why. Now, if you guys have checked out my secret sauce video, you'll know that I use really the bare minimum in terms of dosing. However, what I didn't show in that video, because I want to keep that video short, was that I have experimented with some other supplements. After the Orange Passion RTN'ed, I stopped everything completely, and I stuck to the bare minimum. I also took my water sample and sent it into ICP. Once I got these results back, I realized that I was probably really hurting my tank by dosing a bunch of supplements that it didn't need. The lesson to be learned here is don't dose what you can't test. Okay, that's a really long intro. Ignore this date here. The actual date is what I put over here, which is February 11th, 2021. So back to the reason I took this test. One, yes, I wanted to confirm that my test kits and my refractometer were working correctly. Two, I wanted to see if there were any elements that were out of whack. Anything that could explain the death of my Orange Passion frag. I'm not gonna go over this in great detail. I don't think that actually provides very much value to you. Okay, so when I look at major elements, there's nothing here that really jumps out at me as potentially being a cause. However, that being said, I did stop a lot of the supplements before, once the Orange Passion actually started to RTN. So maybe some of these were elevated a bit more. The other things I was dosing was mainly Chaetogro. I would dose Red Sea elements A, B, C, and D every like 3 or 4 days, but I wasn't dosing very much. And the third thing that may be the cause is I started using this product called Aquaforest Micro E, which is supposed to have a lot of microelements that we'll check out below, like a lot of these trace elements. Unfortunately, maybe some of them could be harmful and it could have been overdosed, or because I'm also using a 2-part that does have some trace elements in it. But for the most part, when you look at the major elements, I don't think there's anything here to really be concerned about. Iodine, I always dose iodine. So Brad, a local reefer, is actually the one that advised me to start doing so. And I believe it's really helped my zoas. Bromine's high. So a lot of these numbers are a bit slightly elevated, but they don't look high enough to really impact anything negatively. When we look down here, so phosphate's 0.03, which is exactly where you'd want them to be. And then here are my trace elements. So nothing's really jumping out except for molybdenum, 25, which is 5 above the reference range. I believe this is probably from the Chaetogro. So this is Brightwell Chaetogro. So this is the only thing. Would 5 above the reference range really cause something to RTN? I'm not sure. And then when we move down further, now we got the other trace elements. And here's the other one that really jumps out at me, is the lithium. 1100. When I first saw this test, I immediately thought, this must be the culprit. How do I take care of it? So I Googled it, and reading a lot of posts on Reef to Reef, I realized this actually may not be a big deal. Although it's 1100, I've seen posts from Randy Farley Holmes. He doesn't think elevated lithium is too much of an issue in a tank. And I've seen posts where lithium actually measured much higher than this, in the thousands, like 2,000 or 3,000, and they didn't have any problems. But for right now, I am gonna monitor this. On Reef to Reef, it seems the consensus is it's probably from your salt. If you use the same salt as me, reef crystals, you're probably gonna have elevated lithium. And then barium seems low. And that's it. So some things are low, but the way I see things is if it is much better to be below where you want to be at than above. I believe when things are overdosed and your elements are much higher than where they should be, that's when you're going to run into problems. So based on this ICP, I do not think it was a water chemistry issue that killed the orange passion. At the end of the day, I believe it was more likely to be a flow issue. Now, unfortunately, when I had a lot of LPS in the tank, I had the flow turned down. Furthermore, the flow from my power heads were greatly reduced because of coralline buildup as well as algae buildup. The area where the orange passion was sitting is probably the lowest flow area in the tank. And that's just compounded by the fact that, well, it's already a low flow area and the flow from my power heads are actually not very good. And I believe those two factors actually caused it to RTN. Let's just go through these things real quick, because what I did before I drew my water for the ICP test, I actually tested my water. So on February 11th, I did the following tests. I also tested alkalinity, but the Fauna Marin ICP test does not test for that. So salinity, my refractometer was showing me 1.027. So a bit higher than where I want it to be. But the ICP tests, so they test sodium, which is over here, and salt is sodium chloride. So depending on your sodium measurement, that should be a very good indication of what your sodium chloride content of the water is, right? And what the concentration is. As you can see here, for sodium, they tested 10,709, which is really right in the middle of that reference range. And I don't know what this translates to, but I'm assuming it's probably about 1.026. If that's wrong, or if you know what 10,700 is, let me know in the comments. And if anything I say is wrong in this video, because I'm not a chemist, I'm definitely not Randy Farley Holmes, this is way out of my ballpark. I'm just sharing this with you guys because I want to take you guys along for the ride, to see how my tank is doing, to check out the chemistry, and yeah, so let's continue. What this tells me is, yes, my refractometer is off, but not by very much. And I'm using RODI to calibrate it. My calcium, I tested at 420 to 430. This is using the Salifert calcium test kit. ICP came back at 412. That is really close, guys. What this shows is that the Salifert calcium test kit is a pretty good test kit for a hobby grade test kit. With my magnesium, again, this is the Salifert magnesium test kit. I tested 1410. ICP came back at 1427. Again, this indicates that the Salifert magnesium test kit is quite accurate as well. With phosphates, I use the HANA Ultra Low Range Phosphorus checker. And this is a bit off. So my only explanation for this difference, I actually have two. One, I know for a fact that the HANA test kits, you have to handle them properly. So maybe there was some mishandling on my part. And the second thing is that after I took this phosphate test, I actually dumped in some PE mysis into the tank. I think 2 or 3 cubes. And it was only a couple hours later that I took the water sample for the ICP test. So I don't know whether the PE mysis is the explanation for why the phosphates were quite a bit different than I would have anticipated. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already. It would really help this fellow reefer out, and it doesn't cost you a penny. And please like the video for the YouTube algorithm. Again, that also really helps me out. And I'll see you guys next week on the next video. Take care.